coming! Welcome to the Dex, where we cover trivia and strategy for a different Pokemon each week. I'm Pokekells.
And I'm Twins Alex. It's great to see you all, because right now, we've kind of got a small situation on our hands.
You do?
Yeah. Don't you see the sun going down? You won't like me at night.
Because you're a werewolf?
Oh, yes! Hurry, Kills! Get somebody away! Get away from me before I do something I regret!
But I know you're not a werewolf.
No, I am!
How did you become a werewolf?
I don't like to talk about it! Now go! Quickly!
Not even a full moon.
Alright, well, I tried. It's Lycanroc, guys.
You know, sometimes we can just have a normal intro, right? Lycanroc is the wolf Pokemon from Gen 7. It's a creature of wonderful duality, and its evolution is heavily influenced by Solgaleo and Lunala, which is why in Pokemon Sun, your Rockruff evolves into midday form during the day, and in Moon, it'll evolve into the midnight form. Though really, you can just catch both fully evolved in both games. Both forms have their signature rocky manes around their necks, but aside from that, they really don't have much in common.
Midday form Lycanroc is fiercely loyal to its trainer and will never betray them. Fast and nimble, it gets access to the unique rock-type move Accelerock, while the midnight form doesn't. In the wild, midday Lycanroc lives solitary lives in the mountains and avoid interfering with one another's business in order to avoid unnecessary fighting.
Midnight form Lycanroc, however, is wild and unpredictable. It loves to fight, especially against Pokemon stronger than itself, and it looks for its opponent's weaknesses and exploits them to counterattack. Also, it can be very reckless with its own safety and often has a contentious relationship with its trainer, especially if the trainer gives it orders it doesn't agree with. While much harder to train than midday Lycanroc, getting one to trust its trainer creates a powerful friend. What?
I get how these guys are different, but I'm still not sure why. Like, I totally get the werewolf vibe here, but aren't they like both wolves? You can't have a regular wolf that's a werewolf, right? Isn't that just all wolves?
All right, patience, you constantly overthinking goofball. All will be revealed. We just gotta take a quick look at Lycanroc's name first in a ridiculous segment I like to call Pokemon Etymology.
Wait, what does this have to do with bugs?
Etymology.
Oh, nice. I don't get it.
Little anime thing.
Yep.
Etymology is all about words, you doof, and in this case, the name Lycanroc is a play on the words lycanthrope and rock. Lycanthrope is a word that originates from the ancient Greek lycanthropos, which means wolf-human. Lycanthrop means one who behaves as a wolf, and the term lycanthropy refers to an actual physiological changing from human to wolf, especially on the full moon. Oh yeah, I love werewolves.
Well, apparently history does too. The werewolf myth originates in Europe, and trust me when I say it goes way back. Some ancient Greek stories refer to men transforming into wolves as early as 450 BC, but werewolves as we know them became more of a widespread horror favorite in a later, more modern Europe, probably sometime during the 1400s.
But is this really where Lycanroc comes from? Or is there something a little closer to its Alolan home? Well, enter Kaupe, a malevolent spirit we discovered to be part of Hawaiian mythology. At night, Kaupe calls your name. If you heed the call, you'll find yourself in a chilly, empty clearing. And if that's not awful enough, then Kaupe just reveals himself from the shadows to eat you. Kind of a raw deal, huh?
In some interpretations, Kaupe appears mainly as a monster with the body of a man, the head of a canine, and sharp claws. But in others, he's the chief of a tribe of cannibals and can turn himself into an enormous dog at will to stalk and hunt other humans. In the myths, Kaupe's physical form was killed, but his ghost still remains on Oahu, calling out to those foolish enough to go for it.
Yeesh. Though that would explain Midnight Lycanroc's crazy battle style of waiting for you to attack and then closing in. Plus, it definitely has that bipedal wolfman vibes. Oh, and those glowing red eyes could definitely be those of an evil spirit within. So dope. But that explains mostly Midnight Lycanroc, so what's up with Midday?
Well, as a staple classic horror monster, werewolves have had a history of being depicted as tragic characters. They don't ever really want to hurt anyone, but they do it anyway because they can't control themselves. So often, werewolves seclude themselves or take potions to make themselves harmless, or run away to avoid hurting the ones they love. This is the plight of Midday Lycanroc, who always live alone in the wild so they don't lose control of themselves. Damn, it's tight.
Yes, to answer your question, Lycanroc on the whole is totally about lycanthropy and the literary theme of giving into your beastly instincts or rejecting them and retaining your morality. I like it.
Right? But speaking of beastly instincts, now it's time to take a look at some dope VGC-17 Lycanroc battle strategy. You wanna howl with me?
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh! Lycanroc has respectable attack and speed, but the rest of its stats are pretty lacking, and with a limited move pool like he has, it's hard to recommend either Lycanroc across the board. Unless you're using a Gigalith with Sandstream, because if you are, midday form Lycanroc can quickly become your best friend. Start with an Adamant one and EV train it in attack, special defense, and speed.
Having an almost guaranteed Sandstorm on the field grants Lycanroc some very welcome bonuses, including a 30% boost to its rock attacks and a 50% boost to its special defense just from the Sandstorm alone. But then, are you ready for the kicker? His special ability Sand Rush literally doubles his base 115 speed. Now, I might not be no fancy calculator or nothing, but let me just tell you that's a lot.
This instantly puts you at the top of the speed list for turn 1, but aside from a few priority moves you need to look out for, this gives you a few very interesting options. For example, lots of other teams in this meta require a turn or two of setup, but since you're already so fast, why not run Taunt on this set so you can stop your opponents in their tracks? Not a bad first turn, and one that you can really get your opponent quite heated about.
Or with that stab and that 30% Sandstorm boost to damage, why not blow somebody's mind with a big buff Stone Edge based Continental Crush Z move? Obviously, this means you'll have to give up your hold item slot for a Z Crystal, but if it gets you a surprise KO right off the bat, can't really argue with it.
For more generalized purposes, you'll also want to run Rock Slide as your main stab attack, since it hits both opponents for 30% more damage than it usually does and comes with a pretty large 30% flinch chance as well. You know, sometimes it's the simple things that are most satisfying, and watching both of your opponents flinch out of nowhere has gotta be close to the top of the list.
But we must keep in mind that Lycanroc is still pretty vulnerable to a lot of attacks, especially on the physical side, so for safety purposes, and to take control of the game's momentum a little bit more, round this set out with Protect. It may almost seem passé at this point, but trust me, you're gonna like the way you look. I guarantee it.
But of course, that's not the only way to train a Lycanroc, so as always, here are a few random thoughts.
If you swap out your Rock EMZ for a Life Orb, your attacks will gain yet another small bonus, and instead of wasting a spot on Stone Edge to help pull off the Z move, it gives you another free move slot for whatever you need.
And speaking of, why not try Fire Fang? It gives you some great extra coverage, especially against some common steel types, with the added bonus that if you are carrying the Life Orb, you can almost certainly take down Kartana in one hit. Imagine doing that to someone on turn 1. Hilarious.
And finally, for those times that your opponent does get up a Trick Room or a Tailwind and they finally think they have a speed advantage, wreck their dreams with Sucker Punch. If you'd rather use the stab and the 30% Sandstorm bonus, Accelerock works here too, but you do lose the extra type coverage, so really the choice is yours.
And that's it, Lycanroc. I may not be a real werewolf, but if you were betting money on which one of us was, you'd probably put it on me.
Yeah, if you wanted to lose that money. But if you've got some to spend, why not do something useful with it and buy one of our brand new Dex shirts at theyeti.com/thedex. You'll be the envy of all the other kids at the beach disco. Or if civil conversations are more your thing, why not click the link in the description and head on over to our official Dex Discord to link up with some like-minded Pokemon-loving friends.
Click for more episodes or take a second to acknowledge our Patreon supporters, because without them, me and Kelly would be sitting outside on a barrel splitting a single lima bean for lunch. I'm Twins Alex.
And I'm Pokekells. Tune in next week for another nice, refreshing episode of
The Dex.